Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm ZB, Zach Brown, and joining with me, as always, is former sprint car crew chief and mechanic, my dad, Jeff Brown. Dad, we've got a lot to go over in NASCAR, NHRA, and our top five best non-champions in NASCAR of all time. We touch on some IndyCar recap and get into some dirt racing. So a lot of stuff going on this week. So let's kickstart like we always do in NASCAR. And NASCAR got to test out their wet weather tires on a mile track this time at New Hampshire, and I think overall it was okay. Those tires burn up really fast, but I think it was good for Goodyear to get the data for those wet weather tires, and it's going to be a continuous research and development that they have to do. But I think overall it wasn't too bad. They were able to go back racing after I swore it was going to rain out, and so they at least were able to make that work. And I guess bring out your broomsticks because Christopher Bell swept the weekend at New Hampshire, and he continues a very dominant performance at that track.
Yeah, he was, with nothing else, with the rain and everything, NASCAR got it right. Christopher Bell was the fastest car for sure. I don't think anybody was going to beat him. So, it worked out that he ended up winning the race. And I don't know, the rain tires thing was a little weird. I think most of the teams are a little upset they don't have the choice whether to run rain tires or not. I mean, I get NASCAR kind of trying to keep things on an equal plane. But there was at one point where they're like, nope, you can't take tires. And everybody's like, our tires are wearing out.
And then they said,
Then they're like, go ahead
yeah,
and take tires. So NASCAR needs to come up with something where they
some
know
kind of
exactly
conformity
what's going to be
yeah.
allowed, what's not going to be allowed. And
I don't see what's the harm in saying, hey, you guys can choose what you will, but don't come bitching at us if you use the dry tires and you slide and don't have any grip. And I think they should leave that on the crews. Then you can't say it's on NASCAR; it's on the teams. Then if that ends up happening, so I think if the teams are willing to risk it, let them risk it. It's not a NASCAR decision; it's a team decision.
yeah, and the one thing, like those tires are designed to run with it actually really being wet, and that track wasn't, wasn't really spraying water. They almost need a harder compound to run, like just a treaded compound where it's can eliminate that kind of water because those
It's
things were just 10 miles on those tires and they were blistered and junk. So
Yeah, it's gonna depend on each and every track that they go to. It's gonna
yeah,
depend like on concrete tracks. I guess Bristol they have wet weather tires. I don't think they have any for Dover. That's way too fast of a track for them to do wet weather to even try it. They won't have it this weekend at Nashville either. Too big of a track for them to do it.
yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised in the coming years that they make something work for the higher speed places. That
Oh,
would be
I'm sure
nice.
something will change. I mean, this is really the first time they've ever had to do it, so I guess it's
On a big one. They made it work decently at Richmond before, and they've ran them, I think, at Martinsville or something. Martinsville, they work best. They work best. Well, I think the Truck Series at Martinsville, but that small track, you're not building up so much
right.
speed, and you're not blistering the tires within 10 laps, which was absolutely insane to see. Then you see them literally on the grass line running the inside, trying to get as much cool on their tires as they could, and it was interesting. It shook things up. It wasn't a bad New Hampshire race. I'll give them that. It was a pretty decent race, and even I think with the delayed, even it helped a lot. It had a lot of excitement towards the end because nobody really knew what to expect. But yeah, like we were saying, Christopher Bell was clearly the fastest all weekend long in both series. He also spoils whoever his teammate's going to be next year, Chase Briscoe, which was officially announced. And he kind of gave that away this past weekend at the track. But and everybody was dumb. People were like, "Oh, it's Chase Elliott." No, it's Chase
Yeah.
Briscoe. Like you guys are
Well, even
no,
Kyle Larson was like, I'd like to thank Chase All for being my teammate for the last
yeah,
couple of years. And
yeah. Larson said he couldn't get out a tweet fast enough as soon as he saw that press conference. So that was fun. How they were giving Bell a bunch of shit in the garage for that. Well, yeah, like Briscoe replaced Truex. That's the biggest news out of the weekend, and yeah, Christopher Bell continues a very good season, strong start of the season. He's looking good at all these little flatter, smaller tracks. It seems like he's going pretty well there. So we'll see how he shakes up this week, and which we're going to get into Nashville this week. So it's a triple header for NASCAR at Nashville Super Speedway. This is, I think it's the biggest concrete track that they go to, if I'm not mistaken,
I
and
believe so. It's a mile and a third.
it's a really cool track. They had it in the Truck Series. They brought to Xfinity, and it's had success with Cup. Kind of what they've started with Iowa now. So starting these tracks off and bringing them up through the series, I think it's a great thing. Last couple years been really good racing at Nashville.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of like Dover, but it's a tri-oval, so it's not shaped like Dover, and it's not banked near as Dover. It's a 1 1/3 all concrete tri-oval. The interesting thing, though, the straightaways on Nashville are banked like 9 degrees, like Dover. So it's kind of one of those self-cleaning racetracks where you get into a crash, it kind of shoots everything down to the inside. Which I didn't. I thought Dover was the only track like that. Which this track is owned by the people who own Dover. So interesting enough, it's got that kind of interesting thing. So I would think it don't race like Dover. But I would think the people that go good on Dover are probably going to be some of the favorites this week.
Well, these past couple years, there's been a lot of consistent drivers, and I think you're going to see Chevys be very fast across the board here. They've had a lot of success over the last couple years. 2 years ago, Chase Elliott won. Last year, Ross Chastain won, and Kyle Larson won the first ever Nashville race when they went there during his championship run. So Chevy's definitely had a lot of success there. Ford has struggled. Toyotas have been kind of middle of the way, but it's been a Chevy dominated racetrack, and I don't think you'll see it stray too far away from that this time. You see Chevy struggle at New Hampshire. I think you're going to see a little bit opposite here at Nashville, kind of giving a little preview of what I've got coming in my lineups here in a little bit.
That's the exact opposite of what I have.
I'm just kind of going off a feeling
for the most part.
couple years.
I had to start putting some people in.
Well,
I got one Chevy.
Well, we'll get our lineups here in a second. Let's give our power rankings heading into Nashville. I'll give you mine since you started it off last week. So at number 5, I've dropped him down. This is his last chance to be in the top 5 of power rankings. He made his way up a little bit through the pack at New Hampshire and got caught up in a wreck, same as my number 4 guy. But Denny Hamlin's dropped to number 5 on my list. Number 4, I have Ryan Blaney. He was in contention to win that race and then got caught up in a wreck with those wet weather tires. So he's at number 4 for me. At number 3, I've got Kyle Larson. Had a good solid run at the end at New Hampshire. He was one of the few Chevys that can make his way through the field. Everybody else really struggled. Number 2, I've got Christopher Bell. He wasn't even in my power rankings, but as good as he's been lately, I'm putting him up as high as number 2. And at number 1, I'm keeping him there. I'm keeping Chase Elliott at number 1. He's still tied for the points lead with Kyle Larson, which Larson would have the tiebreaker because of wins. But yes, they're tied at the top. Go ahead with yours.
All right, so we're close. So I like you. I dropped Denny Hamlin last week. I had him at 4. I dropped him down to number 5 because screw Denny Hamlin, little douche. Well, we'll get in the whole spotter thing with Larson.
Yeah,
but, his spotter was correct. So and the next 3 were tough because they all have been actually pretty good. But I actually dropped Chase Elliott down to number 4. Just because he wasn't like the fastest Chevy, and I kept Ryan Blaney at 3. He's just been very consistent like the last 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, I know he got into a crash. It wasn't his fault, so we're going to give him a pass on that one. I did move Christopher Bell up from number 5 to number 2, and that's another one. He's been on a roll here lately. He's been fast everywhere, and I kept Kyle Larson at number 1 mainly because all the Chevys completely sucked except for him. He's the only one that could actually do anything and remotely sniff the front. So that's kind of a championship team run where either the tracks you don't have a good setup and everybody kept plugging away, and he came home with what did he get, fourth or something like that?
Yeah, he got a top 5, but let's stay on Larson. Stay with talking about championship teams. Denny Hamlin raced Larson hard once again, drove him up the track, and cost Larson a couple positions on one of the restarts. Actually, probably his chance to even get up to Christopher Bell and be able to move Christopher Bell to take the lead. That was his last chance to have it to possibly win. Yeah, so if anybody hasn't heard the audio by now, and I think a lot of people have, Cliff Daniels started off saying, "Hey, this is how you need to figure out how you're going to start racing him. Like you need to decide now, because that's going to keep happening." Then the spotter chips in and says, "You know why he races you that way every time? Because you let it happen every time." And Larson was just like,
F
"Screw
you.
you."
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't disagree with the spotter. Larson definitely
he does. And Larson
takes that.
he was pissed.
He's trying to race clean.
Well, yeah, Larson isn't generally probably one of the cleanest drivers in the field. He does not try to wreck anybody or use up people, and he still runs the hell out of it. But he doesn't really move people out of the way. That's just not how he's ever raced. But he's going to have to learn, especially around Denny, because clearly Denny is not going to give him anything ever. So Larson should just came back and just bumped him right in going into 3. That's how racing goes. He doesn't have to take him out, but you still gotta you gotta give a
need to
bump
make
or
sure,
something.
like, hey, that wasn't cool, so I'm going to shove you up the track.
Yeah, and it wasn't the dirtiest thing we've ever seen Denny Hamlin do, because they never made contact on that one, and then it cost Larson to be out of the race completely.
Yeah, he definitely used him up though.
He did, but he seems to always do it, because, like the spotter said, Larson's let it happen. So we'll see what he does moving forward. I don't expect Larson to really change his style, though. I mean, that's just not how he races. But all right, let's get into our fantasy lineups for Nashville. I sucked completely last week. I took some chances on people, and actually the ones I took chances are finished better than the decent drivers I had in my lineup. But I said, screw this. I'm going all in on Nashville. I'm throwing everybody I possibly can. So here's my lineup for Nashville Super Speedway and NASCAR Fantasy. My starters are Kyle Larson, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, and Chase Elliott. And in my garage is Christopher Bell. Yes, I've got everybody. I'm stacking up everybody. I had Bowman for a minute. I was going to have the entire Hendrick fleet out there. I was like, let me just keep Bowman for a little bit. And then my featured matchups are Christopher Bell versus William Byron. I'm actually taking William Byron on this one. I don't see him having 2 really bad weeks in a row like that. Ross Chastain versus Truex. I do have Chastain in my lineup because I'm mainly saving Truex. I had to save somebody. I think I only have 4 more chances for him, but I've got Truex over Chastain in this one. Denny Hamlin versus Chase Elliott. I've got Chase. He's been the most consistent driver, and he's won here before. This is a good track for him. Chris Buescher versus Tyler Reddick. I do have Tyler Reddick over Chris Buescher. I think it's going to be a Toyota versus Chevy day. The hot pick, they say Denny Hamlin, and that's one of the Toyotas I think could definitely show up. Hot pick is Ross Chastain. He's been top 10 here like every single year, so this is a good track for him as a confidence booster for him. This says avoid Alex Bowman, and that's not the main reason I did it. I had faith in him last week, and he blew up. Avoid Chris Buescher. I think it's the first time you actually avoid Chris Buescher. He's not on the sleeper. And the sleeper this week is Daniel Suarez. He goes pretty solid here, but he just hasn't had the speed this year for me to feel comfortable putting him in a lineup. All right, go ahead with your fantasy.
All right, so I'm trying to use up some drivers. I was starting to get down. I gotta. Some of it I can only use 3 or 4 more times. So I kind of got a few smacks in here. So I have Ross Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Josh Berry, Brad Keselowski, Chase Briscoe, and in my garage I have Noah Gragson.
So you're going heavy on Fords.
Yeah, I'm going. I was actually looking to see how many times I used people and kind of went down from there.
Yeah, I'm going ham this week, and I'm going to kind of I'm trying to get back into it because you and Mom are both pulling away from me in fantasy.
So I have Christopher Bell over William Byron. I have Truex over Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin over Chase Elliott, and Tyler Reddick over Chris Buescher.
All right. Well, there goes our lineups, and this is pretty significant. So see who can make up ground this week. This is a pretty big one. All right, so 3 series at Nashville this week. Trucks, Xfinity, Cup. Most notably in the Truck Series is that Clint Boyer will be racing for Spire Motorsports in this race. So it'll be
Okay,
interesting to
that's
see
pretty
him
cool.
back out. Yeah, be interesting to see him back out on the track, see what he can do. He's a little bit rusty, but I think with as long as he doesn't get in a crash, he'll probably finish top 10. It
Yeah,
seems to
that's
how.
actually a pretty good truck. So it's the
Yeah, I think that's
truck's
the one.
probably fast
I think
enough.
that one Kyle Busch has won a couple times, and
The 7 truck, I think
yeah,
it is, or something like that.
yeah, his teammates with Raja Caruth.
Okay.
All right, well, for the Truck Series, who do you have? And this is
I'm
Friday night.
Yeah, 8 o'clock Friday night. So I'm going to go Chevy on this one. I got Nick Sanchez.
And I've got a Toyota on this one. I've got Corey Heim.
Okay. Low hanging fruit.
Well, there's about 3 trucks that could probably win. It's not like a lot of other series. Xfinity.
So this one, I don't think I've ever really picked him before, but it's like I kind of forget about him, and he's usually pretty good. So I got Austin Hill on this one.
All right. And I'm going another Toyota driver, another second place finish last week. I've got Sheldon Creed
All right.
to try to get his first win. That poor
I
guy.
know, poor guy.
And for the Cup Series on Sunday afternoon.
So my pick for the win. So I went from Chevy. Now I got Toyota. So I got Tyler Reddick for that one, and Mom's pick is Kyle Larson.
I went Toyota. I'm going Chevy on this one. I've got Chase Elliott
All right.
for Nashville. So this is like polar opposites we've got. Well, that does it for our NASCAR picks. Let's give our top 5 non-champion NASCAR drivers, the best of all time. These are NASCAR Cup Series drivers who've never won a Cup Series championship. This episode is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is a live entertainment platform rethinking ticketing by caring more about their fans, teams, and venues. They are powering a new open entertainment industries where fans have effortless access to experiences in teams, venues, and shows, and have seamless access to their audiences. With trusted consumer marketplace and innovative enterprise ticketing technology, SeatGeek has what you need for any sporting event. Make sure you use my promo code ZBMedia to get $20 off your purchase from SeatGeek. That is ZBMEDIA from SeatGeek, $20 off. You can't beat that. Check them out now. Get your next concert, sporting event, or anything else from SeatGeek. Back to the show. So at number 5, I've got Harry Gant. And at number 4, I've got Davey Allison. This is one driver that was, he was killed very young, very short time in his career. Dale Earnhardt said it before that Davey Allison would definitely have won at least a championship, if not several championships, if he did not die in that crash. So I've got him. Number 3, I've got cousin Carl Edwards. And at number 2, I've got Mark Martin.
Okay.
And number 1, and I would venture to say we probably got the same number 1.
We don't.
We don't?
No.
Okay. Well, my number 1 is Denny Hamlin. As much as no one likes him, you still can't deny that literally every single year he's in contention to win the championship, multiple wins. He's going to be top. He's already top 10 in, I think, all-time win list, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's literally contention every year to win the championship, and he always disappoints. So, not me, but in general. All right, go ahead with your top 5.
All right. So at number 5, I got all-time fan favorite. I got Dale Earnhardt Jr. at number 5. Number 4, cousin Carl. Got cousin Carl there. I think if he'd have raced longer, his good chance he could have won one. At number 3, I dug back this one a little deeper, and this surprised me. Junior Johnson never won as a driver, but
One
has
of his
won
owner.
as a car owner.
Yeah.
And my number 1 and 2, you could put them in either order. I don't think at number 2, I have Denny Hamlin just because I don't like him.
And number
And,
one.
and at number 1, I do have Mark Martin.
Yeah,
I mean, he
I
lost the
think.
championship by 6 points to Earnhardt or something like that. So
Yeah, and Denny's come in second place multiple times, and Carl Edwards finished second right behind
Carl
Tony
actually tied with Tony Stewart and lost on the tiebreaker or something like that.
because Tony won the final race. He won the race. Carl got second.
Yeah.
Like it was, and that's after that. That's when they made the rule change to do wins to advance in the championship and all that stuff, and that's when that all started rolling. All right, though, that was a little fun top five. We'll put a pause on top five for a couple weeks from now because I got to think. So figure out what I want next. But heading into NHRA, the first thing I want to talk about is the just horrific crash that John Force had in his, and he's actually still in the ICU recovering from this. The family has not released his health status, which is very understandable. He's obviously going to be in very, very intensive care based on his age and getting that serious of a wreck. I'm not exactly sure what all failed in the car. It was an explosion that happened.
Yeah. Well, the engine blew, and what I don't understand is NASCAR has safety procedures that if the engine blows, those parachutes are supposed to
You
deploy
mean
automatically.
NHRA does? Yeah.
Or yeah. And for whatever reason, his parachutes did not deploy. So it blows up. It's a ball fire. Body's blowing apart. So I'm sure there's no way he can see. Can't stop. He's probably trying to hit the fire bottles. And that explosion could have even temporarily knocked him out for a split second.
Yeah.
I don't know, which is um, they put that rule in when Scott Coletta was killed at Englishtown because it's sort of the similar thing. It
Yeah.
blew up and his parachutes didn't open. So John Force still hit at probably almost 300 miles an hour, bouncing off the fence.
Yeah. It was.
And the guy's 75 years old now. When they put him in the helicopter, he was alert, and they said he sounded like John Force being John Force. So that's one good thing. But
Yep.
yeah, I don't know if there's any broken bones. I'm sure there's massive bruising, probably concussion.
Well, like I was saying, with his age too, they're going to take extra care because I mean he's 75 years old driving 325 miles an hour every single week. So
Yeah, and still
definitely
winning.
yeah. I don't know how serious it is, but it would not surprise me the way he's been talking this year too. That might be the final time we've seen John Force in a drag car.
I don't think that will sideline him. I think you'd see him come back at least for one more race to be like, look, that did not beat me. I'm leaving on my own terms.
Could very well do that, but it also might be something that Courtney and Brittany and all the girls are like, no, you're not racing. Like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
not.
true.
So we'll see what happens. And Tony Stewart and Leah Pruitt. Let's go on a little happier note. They're expecting. That's why
Yeah.
Leah stepped away. They
So
want to
they
start a
they
family.
announced that
So
it's going to be a boy, I believe, born in November of this
yep,
year.
yep. So congrats to them. So a little happier note right there. Not going to
Yeah.
have too much of a somber tone here. But in Virginia was a lot of really good drag racing. It was a hot sled. They said it was a hot one, and we expected that because it's been nothing but hot freaking down here.
Yeah.
Um, the
Track was
the
tricky.
only shock I had was that Gage Herrera one.
Yeah.
This was a little bit closer. It wasn't. He
Yeah,
beat
he
his.
actually got beat off the line by a pretty good margin by his teammate, but that thing is just why his is so much faster than the other Vance and Hines motorcycle. I have no idea.
I don't know if it's the way he rides it. I really don't know. But that's his 10th straight win this year.
Yeah, that set a record for
Everything.
any NHRA division.
Yeah, it's
10 straight win, beat Bob Glidden's 9 straight, I believe it was.
absolutely insane. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to see. This was a big time shocker. Dallas Glenn made the finals, but he lost to Aaron Stanfield. That was
Yeah,
a big upset. In Pro Stocks,
it's funny. They show the picture of Aaron Stanfield, and he looks like he's about 15 years old in that picture. I don't know how old that picture is, But then they showed him in the victory lane, and his daughter was actually holding. I was
the
like,
little
he must
girl,
be a little older than what his picture looks like.
yeah, maybe they just couldn't get an updated one. Who knows? Austin Prock got a big win for John Force Racing in Funny Car, and Doug Coletto won Top Fuel. Did you pick Coletto or did you pick his teammate?
I picked his teammate Sean Langdon, who he beat in the finals.
Yeah,
I was
so
close on that one.
yeah, I think I was only right on Gage, so I didn't have. I think you did have Austin Prock.
No,
And
I had
Funny.
John Force.
Oh, you had the right team again, once again. So no more picking John Force. You jinxed him because you
Yeah.
made him
Sorry,
wreck.
John.
Now they're heading to Ohio this weekend, and probably a little bit different weather than Virginia. Probably not as hot, I wouldn't think.
You know what? I don't know what the weather's going to be like up there, but the notable thing about Norwalk, Ohio, is apparently the cheap ice cream they have there. I think it's like, I don't know, $1 a scoop or something. They'll show it on the broadcast. There'll be a line about a mile long just to go get this damn ice cream. So it must be some really good stuff. So other than that, I think it's your normal drag.
Or it's
drag.
like the Martinsville hot dog. It's like, I mean, it's a good hot dog.
Yeah,
It's cheap.
exactly.
Yeah, it could be one of those that just get built a lot of hype
But we
for
do have
no
all four
reason.
classes again this week.
Yeah, and I don't think we ever have to give another pick for our motorcycle. I
Yeah.
thought actually about possibly picking someone as an upset, but I just can't think about going into that and picking a different driver,
That
a
one, he's,
rider.
300ths of a second faster than the whole field. It's sooner or later they're gonna put some more weight on his bike or something.
Yeah, well, that's what they did with Eddie Krawick and who was it back in the day?
Uh, Andrew Hines.
Yeah, they still won, so they could probably do what they want. They'll figure out how to
Yeah.
compensate for it and go there. But yeah, so let's give our picks for the Norwalk, Ohio, the ice cream finals. I don't know what it's called.
It's
Uh,
the Summit Racing Nationals.
it should be the ice cream finals or something. All right, but we both got Gage Herrera and motorcycles, so I'll give
Yeah.
the rest of my picks. Pro stocks, I'm kind of on a little bit of a trend right here. So for these next two, I've got Dallas Glenn, just lost in the finals. I think you'll see him bounce back and get a big win here in pro stock. And Funny Car finished second, fast all day, had the fast qualifier, just came up just short in the finals. I've got Bob Tasca on Funny Car. And Top Fuel, soon to be dad, I've got Tony Stewart.
Okay. You're stretching a little on that one.
Well, I stretched on Schumacher and it worked. So Tony made the semis.
That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, till then, he was one of the better cars getting down that hot track. So maybe the hot track sort of suits their tune-up or whatever. But
Good.
anyway, on mine, like you said, we have Gage Herrera. I also have Dallas Glenn Pro Stock. So Funny Car, this guy's been quiet. I got Ron Capps for Funny Car.
He's been very quiet.
And then Top Fuel, another one that's been pretty quiet. I got Justin Ashley this week.
Yep. I think he made the semis as well.
Probably. I mean, it's a good car. It just, just the top fuel dragster class especially is
good.
a tough one to pick.
That's why I
It
don't know
seems to
how I
be the
got that
funny
one right
cars.
with
It seems to be
Schumacher.
the Force cars and Tasca are probably, and then throw in Matt Hagan. They're probably the four fastest cars right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. But anything can shake up, especially with the ever changing weather and locations they go to as well.
Yeah. All it
Uh
takes is just one little mess up and smoke the tires and
yep.
toss the rope.
All right, let's give a quick recap of IndyCar. IndyCar's off this week. They'll be back in action next weekend. But you got your pick right on this one. Wasn't too much of a stretch for you, but Alex Palou gets back in victory lane, and he actually retakes the points lead after winning at Laguna Seca. Pretty good race at the end. I caught the last like 10 or so laps, and they get around that sucker pretty quick. And that one corner, I forget, might have been corner 5 or 6, but it dips down. Looks like a freaking 45-degree little hill curve that they go down.
That's the
And I'm like,
corkscrew.
yeah, that's a little uneasy. That'd be a little uneasy for me going. Oh,
Yeah, that's the the signature thing for Laguna Seca, which it makes it kind of, when you see like 20 cars lined up going through that.
yeah, that's pretty
You're
neat.
like, yeah, okay, I get the corkscrew out of that. I see that.
They could never race stock car or anything there. Definitely
No, I
not.
wouldn't think so. That'd be
No,
kind of cool, but
no, because they would test out the truck series and they'd pull out so many goddamn cautions there, it'd be insane. But yeah, it was a pretty good race. I jinxed the hell out of Felix Rosenquist. Apparently, he started third. I don't even know what happened on him. He had an issue on pit road or spun. A lot of people spun. It was pretty hot and slick, and a lot of cautions that they had. Once again, a lot of people have been getting stuck in the sand um, and I think it's been making them really good races too. So take what you will without the
yeah, I wanted to
cautions.
tune in, but they were only putting it on Peacock, which I don't have, and because they kept just showing rain, like they run the rain delay and showing Iowa.
Yeah, they
Put
could
the damn
just
IndyCar race.
just put the IndyCar race on, and
Because
then
IndyCar
they
was
could.
over by the time that thing got started up anyway. So
Yeah, yeah, that was pretty funny. But yeah, Pelot's back in the points lead, and seems like there's a different points leader every week. So I don't even know who the clear cut
that's a
favorite
tough
is.
one this year. That's definitely closer than it has been. Usually, you get one sort of runs away with it all year, and
Yeah,
this year it's changed
one
what
race.
3 times, 4 times.
Yeah, one race. I mean, it only takes one. If one of these drivers wins again, like if Scott Dixon wins next week, he'll be in the points lead again. That's just how
Yeah,
crazy how much points you can make up in the races. All right. Well, High Limit is back in action this week. They actually race tomorrow on Wednesday night at Lake Ozark for the midweek money series. Talk about this track.
it's a little track. It's a 1/3 mile high banked oval. Looks like just watching the races from it. Looks like it gets pretty slick. So it's not going to have the super high speed thing, but it's just another one deal like every week. Getting through lap cars, you're going to have a car that's going to be able to run multiple grooves to get around lap cars.
Yeah, and having drivers that can actually run multiple grooves too, and not just be stuck on one line, and they can figure it out and maneuver around the guys. And I think they've raced Outlaws here. They've had All Stars here before, so it's a
Yeah.
pretty popular track. It's got to be popular if they won it for the midweek money series as well.
It's in Eldon, Missouri, wherever that's at. So obviously around the Lake Ozarks. So
I'll be honest, I don't know where anywhere is in Missouri. I mean, yeah, besides the part of Kansas City.
it
That's
does look like it's a nice smooth track, and it's pretty. They call it a 1/3 mile. Just looking at it on video, it sure looks bigger than that. I mean, it looks like it's a
looks
three
wide.
eighths.
Looks
Yeah,
pretty
I
wide.
think it is pretty wide. I don't know if that's the one or the next one they run that's normally runs like late models and modifieds every week. So
I think Lucas Oil is. Well, they actually probably race late models everywhere. It seems like High Limits picked bunch of late model tracks for their
well,
series.
they get those guys to fill the purse because they don't pay them anything to run, and they bring 5 6 guys to pay $50 a pop for pit passes and.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's one at a time. Give your pick for the midweek money series at Lake Ozark.
So I'm gonna take low hanging fruit on this one. I got Brad Sweet.
I'm going with the young kid. I've got Corey Day winning at
Okay.
Knoxville's had some pretty good momentum. I don't know if anybody is that go tune this in. It was a race at Skagit this past weekend for 62 or $63,000 to win. Corey Day put on a hell of a show.
Yeah,
It
I
it
didn't see that.
it was awesome. He's so damn good. I don't even. We say it every single week. He
Yeah,
is
for 18 years old, having a kid that.
the way his car control is just incredible, and he's seems very mature on the track. I don't know how he's off the track. I assume he's fine, or Larson wouldn't have him race in the high limit series. I'm telling you, this kid's going to be the up and coming guy. He's definitely the next Kyle Larson. So yeah, if anyone wants to see that, go check that out on Flo's YouTube. That was awesome. There was not a lot of racing this past weekend because rain wanted to take away everybody's fun.
Yeah.
That's how that ended up happening. And Port Royal was able to race, so which is weird because if it rains somewhere, it doesn't rain there for once. Um,
Not till next week when I go up.
yeah, it'll rain next week. Yeah. Well, I'm not going, so I don't know. And that's not it for High Limit this week. They are racing Friday and Saturday night in a doubleheader at Lucas Oil Speedway, and I think this is the one you were kind of mentioning. This is where they race a lot of late models on. They've raced All Stars here. It's
I
a and
don't. I couldn't find anything on sprint cars on this track
I
whatsoever.
saw no might not have been All Stars. It was the It's the ASCS, and it's not the All-Star Circle Champions. It's the other ones, like the American Sprint Car
American
Series.
Sprint Car Series.
Yeah,
They're
they've
the
raced.
360 series.
Yeah, they race there, and it's a lot of late models mainly though.
Yeah, and I think they have NASCAR modifieds that also race there. But yeah, it's. I put in my notes as like it might be the first time the sprints have run there. I didn't see the ASCS, but it's definitely the first time for the 410 sprints there and high limit for sure. So they call this one the 3/8 semi-banked oval, which semi-banked means relatively flat.
Yeah.
And this one is because they run the modifieds and late models. This one does look like it's very wide. It looked like there was or should be a two groove track. I think because it's so wide, I think the bottom is probably going to be the fast way around, depending on how many support series they run here.
Yeah.
But it could get very slick, especially the second night.
Yeah. Well, yeah, back-to-back nights, you look for it getting big time slick. I would have for this week. I think it works out. I think Kyle Larson will be able to race in all three races in the high limit, just the way it kind of works out at the with their schedule. I don't think it'll be too big of a deal that he can race in.
Which Kyle Larson, the one race that they had in South Dakota, did not even make the show. So surprising there.
Really?
Yeah, the first night the
Oh yeah,
Outlaws
Houston.
at
The Houston Speedway.
Houston's,
Yeah.
he did not make he didn't have it. It didn't crash or blow up. He just wasn't fast enough to make the show. So
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's
yeah,
doesn't
it just
uh
it started. I don't know the whole deal. If you start with a bad draw and just don't get the good time trial and start in the back of the heat,
yeah,
you're kind of screwed.
yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I think he'll make these races. Let's just say that. He is kind of the owner of the series. I would expect if he races, he's going to make them, whether they let it happen or not. That's what a lot of people are going to go
Well,
there to see.
he would. I'm assuming he would have a provisional. Where outlaw races, he does not have a provisional.
Yeah, right. All right. So back-to-back nights, Lucas Oil Speedway. Who are your picks?
So Friday night, this guy's been relatively quiet here lately. So I got Rico Abreu Friday night. Saturday night, going to be slick. We're out in the Midwest. All-star guy, Sunshine Tyler Courtney.
We don't have the same picks on both nights, but we have the same second night because I'm using that same logic. My first night, though, this guy's been kind of quiet too, but how cool would it be to see a Midwest shoey? I got James McFadden.
Okay.
And then Sunshine, yes, was my second night. All right, Outlaws. Getting to the World of Outlaw action. Rain, not just rain, I mean, torrential flooding downpours in the Dakotas. Postponed the rest of the Huset's $1 million purse races. The first night is the only one they got in, and Sunshine won that race. And we had mentioned that Kyle Larson didn't even make the race. It was still a good race.
Yeah, Sheldon was leading, and I kind of jinxed him because I sort of picked Sheldon that first night.
Yeah, that right rear. Yeah, that guy has the worst. Like he either wins or he blows a tire.
Yeah, he won a ton of races, and he's like sixth in points. So I mean, it's.
I think luckily they were able to postpone it. Found a week to get Huset's.
So I'm assuming they're going to run the full 250,000 show. I guess they're probably not going to do the 100,000 makeup race.
They just do the August. What days?
So it's 2 days, August 31st and September 1st.
Yeah, so they're probably doing the Friday and Saturday.
So I think that's probably going to be because it was two separate shows. It was Wednesday and Thursday was 100,000 to win for Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday. So it sounds like it's going to be the 250,000, unless they pay $100,000 the first night, which would be freaking awesome. Have 100, then 250,000.
That'd be pretty awesome.
It didn't say, but anything is possible.
Yeah,
especially if they got corporate sponsors and the money's already allocated, so it could very well happen.
That'd be pretty awesome for sprint car racing. You could win $350,000 in 2 nights
in a weekend. Yeah, that'd be all right.
Yeah, not as good as that Eldor $1 million, but still.
Yeah,
you don't have the Eldor $1 million this weekend, but yeah, this will be pretty crazy, and it's for points too. So there's a lot of stuff online. It's not like it's just a regular like all-star type race. They are racing a doubleheader at Cedar Lake this week, though. Hopefully, the weather holds off when they can get both nights in. Cedar Lake's a very common track. They race there every single year, the week before July 4th, and it's I think it's like the Freedom 30 or something that they call it.
Something like that.
Hashtag America. I don't know, something like that. I think it'll be another good racing, and this is where can gravel pull away a little bit more in the points lead? Can shots close back in and take over the points lead? It's like we've been saying, it's about a 4-car race for the points lead right now.
Yeah, and even that's starting to thin down a little bit, but
It's about 3.
So Cedar Lake, 3/8 mile oval, a little bigger track than than some of the ones they like, especially like from Huset's. But this is another one that's a real wide, very smooth track. Watching some of the replays, it looks like looks like they could run anywhere. There was cars through the middle. There was cars way up high. There was cars tight on the bottom. So I think that's actually going to make some very good racing. You get the multiple grooves track, maybe takes a little emphasis off of getting that real good draw, having the time trial where you have to start on the front row of the heat race to do anything. So maybe guys that may get a bad draw, start third row in the heat race, still get to qualify and come back up through there.
Yeah, I think it'll be another good race. There hasn't really been a bad race this year.
No,
There's been maybe one or
very
two
few
that
of them
haven't
have
been
been.
great, too exciting. There's been a couple that have been flag to flag races, but
Even
overall,
behind that race, it's been pretty good racing. So
yeah, even if the race for the lead isn't great, there's so many good drivers, and it is kind of hard to pick Outlaws anymore. But we're gonna do it. We did it anyways. Cedar Lake doubleheader, night 1, night 2. Who are your World of Outlaw picks?
So I'm sorry, Sheldon, but I got you for Friday night.
Damn, he's gonna blow a tire.
And Saturday night, so I got him extended the point lead. I got David Gravel for Saturday night.
All right, well, we got different picks on this one. We have
All right.
most of our sprint car picks are different. So night 1, this guy is very good here. Man, I mean, he's a good driver anyways. I've got Carson Macedo at night 1 and night 2. I got none other than Donnie Schatz to take this
All
one
right.
and pull in the points lead and make it a little bit interesting for the race for the championship. Because how funny would that be if Brad Sweet leaves and that's the only person that's been standing in David Gravel's way and somebody else takes
And
it.
Josh beats you.
All right. Well, I think that does it for this week. We've covered pretty much everything. So make sure you guys share this episode and anywhere you get your podcast and follow on all social media platforms. And we will be back again at it next week for hopefully we get a full recap on everything. Hopefully Mother Nature
Got some
plays everybody's
Pennsylvania
side.
Speed Week coming up,
Yep. So we'll talk right before
this weekend. So
Yep.
and I will be up in Pennsylvania on 4th of July.
There you
Plan
go.
on going to Williams Grove July 5th.
All right.
So if anybody's up there,